Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. We are covering Erik ten Hag's press conference where it looks like he calls out Antony Martial for not being able to stay fit and not doing what he needs to stay fit. Also sends a good luck message to Jadon Sancho, says we've got positive reinforcements coming back into the squad to field a stronger starting 11 and a stronger bench. Who loses the places, who comes back in, we'll discuss that. Also talking about Antony and how he will get back to his best form, talking about injuries in the defence. There's a lot to get your teeth into in this Erik ten Hag press conference, so I can't wait to break it all down with you guys. But first things first, before we get into team news, because he doesn't say explicitly who's going to be back, but he does speak about a lot of players being back. The first things I want to say is Erik ten Hag is not pulling any punches. First of all, he calls out Jadon Sancho for not being at the training standards. And now, even after he's been criticised for that, which I think Erik ten Hag was in the right, I'm team Erik ten Hag in that situation. Even after that, after he's been criticised, again in the press conference, to me, it looks like he calls out Antony Martial. This is the exact quote. Let me tell you the exact quote. Ten Hag on Martial. He's not fit. We want players to be fit. And in this moment, he is not. We have to make him fit. And it's his job as well. So to me, that reads a little bit like he's getting fed up. I think it reads like we're doing what we can to help you get fit. We have to help you as well because obviously he's had so many problems with injuries. But also, like, you've got to help yourself. You've got to do the right things. Is he doing the right things? I mean, it's such simple stuff, but is he on the right diet? Is he training the right amounts? Is he doing the right sort of rehab? Is he, like, sleep is such a huge thing in these sort of things. Is he doing the right sleeping schedule? All these things that come into account. Is Martial really putting the work in to stay fit? And to be honest, for someone who's had so many injuries consistently, of course, players can be unlucky. Players don't want to be injured. I absolutely understand that. But Erik ten Hag clearly thinks he could be doing more to stay fit himself. Last thing we heard, he was ill. Now we've heard he's injured. Like, something fishy's going on there. Like, something just doesn't seem right with Antony Martial. He was ill for a month, which, like, unless it's something serious, how can you be ill for a month? Obviously, I hope it's not anything serious, but it doesn't seem to be. And now he's injured. So was the illness, maybe he had a knock and they were trying to cover it up, and now it's developed into a more serious injury where he's injured again? I don't know what it is, but it's absolutely frustrating. And the fact that he's probably going to stay on 200 grand a week until summer, like, it just sums up Manchester United. Players taking it for an easy ride. Because the easy ride is to get 200 grand a week until the summer. Especially when you're an injury-prone player. Nobody wants to go near an injury-prone player. And with Antony Martial, if we were looking to sell him in January, which is why Erik ten Hag probably is frustrated, because he probably knows we've got to shift Martial for him to be able to bring a striker in January. He's obviously going to be frustrated that he's injured. Because if he's injured, nobody's going to go near him, nobody's going to buy him, nobody's going to want to loan him. So it is a frustrating time, understandably, for Erik ten Hag. It's obviously frustrating for Antony Martial. Believe it or not, believe it or not, I've said it so many times on this channel before, I used to love Martial. I've got loads of Martial tops at home. I can bring him in, I can model him for you. Antony Martial, I used to love him. Like, I defend him. Like, I sit in Old Trafford when people are slagging him off and turn around and go to people, well, actually, I sound like Ricky. I go, well, actually, you know, this. It's not all on one player. But it is so frustrating when a player just doesn't seem like completely up for it. And to me, just comes across as if, you know, you're here for the paycheck. That's how it comes across. But with Martial, the injury thing is just so frustrating, and you can understand why Erik ten Hag's being frustrated by it. But the one thing I would say is the good sign from this is that I feel like with Erik ten Hag, he's not going to change the way who he is. He's not going to bow down to the media. He's not going to bow down to anybody who's criticised the way he handled Sancho. And of course, this is a little bit different. It's not as if he's saying, you know, Martial's not up to the training standards. It's not anything like that. We heard Erik ten Hag was a big fan of Martial's when he first came in. I think Erik ten Hag has just become frustrated and grown frustrated with Antony Martial's injury record, like anyone would be, because when you're trying to build a consistent team and you know a player is talented but they just can't get fit, it would frustrate you and you would exclude them from part of the plans. If anybody saw the build-up show when me and Ricky had a little bit of a back and forth, he was like taking the mick out of me a little bit because I was saying, why would any manager want to build around a player who's not reliable? And Ricky was saying, he's been fit for loads of games this season. I said, yeah, but in general, he's not reliable to call upon. And I love the player, but he's just not reliable to call upon. And that's why Ten Hag's been playing Højlund, because he is reliable and he's the future. And that's why he probably wants to move him on in January and get somebody else in. But I can understand exactly where Ten Hag's coming from, and it is frustrating. Saw someone in the chat saying Martial to Dortmund soon. Martial to Monaco, where he came from, and he'll start kissing the badge within 24 hours. Could you imagine? Just the way Jaden's... I've not even had my say on that, but that's just ridiculous in itself. I'm choosing to I'm not even reading too much into that at the moment, honestly. But Martial, for me, of course, you can be injury prone. Of course, it's frustrating for a player. But when we've dealt with these issues, these inconsistency issues for years, you get really frustrated and you think to yourself, are you really doing the most to look after yourself and keep yourself fit? The answer is probably no. If he's injured this much, the answer is probably no. Akash Paul, players being called out like this is a last resort to get the players to put their ideas up. It's more than just fishy, Beth. Exactly. And Ten Hag wouldn't have said that if, how many times has Martial been injured? And Ten Hag's just said, he's injured, and he's not gone into further detail. Now he's saying it's his job as well. It's his job as well to make sure he's fit. So this is the first time he said that about Martial with an injury. It's growing frustration. It's like with the Sancho saga. Ten Hag let him, go away to the Netherlands. He gave him time. He didn't speak about it in the media at all. Every time he got asked about Sancho, he was like, I'm not speaking about it. He gave him so much respect. And then, obviously, he grew more and more frustrated with him not being on time. He felt like he'd give him so much benefit of the doubt. He'd helped him, and he felt like Sancho wasn't repaying him with training standards or with his timekeeping. So eventually, it's a straw that breaks the camel's back. And as a manager, you get frustrated with it. And I'm fine with that frustration. I really am. If players aren't up to standard, then I don't mind the manager calling them out and getting rid. Because if you're not up to standard to play for Manchester United, then I don't want you at the club. It's as simple as that. I don't care how good you are. But anyway, that's where we're on that. But let me have a little look at what you guys are saying. Martial to Bayern. Call out the team. Do you know what it is? It's like, for me, obviously ability is huge. You've got to have the talent. Absolutely, I agree with that. But the main thing you have, no matter how talented you are, and this is frustrating because you see super talented players lose the way. Like, I think Sancho's a more talented player than Antony. I think Sancho is got more ability than Antony. But Antony clearly has like a better attitude, and obviously he has the basics in place. That's the difference. And it's so frustrating because I think Martial is super talented, and I think he could have done way more with his career than what he's done. He's done okay at Manchester United. He's underperformed for what his talent levels are, though, and how high his ceiling was. He's won trophies, he's scored goals, like he's had some great games for us. But because of Martial's ceiling and how good he could be, he's underperformed in that sense. And that's the frustrating thing when you see players with so much talent and so much ability, and they don't do the basic stuff that could get them so much better and shoot them so much higher in terms of what they can achieve. And stuff like that is just professionalism, being on time, looking after your body, looking after your diet, looking after your sleep. Being an athlete. Look at Ronaldo. He does it to an extreme scale, and he's reaped the rewards of it from just being unbelievable. I mean, look at the shape he's in now, and look at his age. Like, he looks like he can play for another 10 years. It's insane. But these are things that you can control. It doesn't matter what your talent is. You can invest in yourself. You can invest in your body. You can invest in making yourself a better player. Sometimes super talented players just don't do the basics, and it's so sad to see. It honestly is. And I'm not scapegoating Martial, like someone just said in the comments, scapegoat. I'm not scapegoating Martial. It's not on one player. Martial isn't the reason we've played poorly this season. Of course it's not. It's like the same as Marcus Rashford isn't the reason where we are. People like to scapegoat one player. There's not one scapegoat. Erik ten Hag has to do better. Other players have to do better. The team has to do better. But all these little marginal things do add up, and you can understand as a manager why it becomes frustrating. But anyway, let's move on to, that's a little segment on Martial, which I thought, oof. But let's move on to the little bit about players returning and who we can expect to be in the Spurs squad. So on team news, Erik ten Hag says, we've had a lot of injuries, so this week in training, the last couple of days, Martinez in training, Casemiro in training, Luke Shaw in training, so there are players returning. They are coming in for selection for Sunday. So to me, that translates as Martinez, Casemiro and Luke Shaw will all be in the squad for Sunday, which is huge, huge. 3 of our best players, in my opinion. So that is huge for us. He also says, Antony, yes, so Antony will be back. Eriksen was ill in the week, he will return. Antony will return. Also, Ahmad will return. We will have more choice in this moment in the squad to put out a starting 11 and create a bench that is stronger. So to me that reads Casemiro, Martinez, Luke Shaw, Eriksen, Ahmad and Antony will all be back in the squad. This will, of course, demote some people from the bench to not even being in the squad. And this will also potentially affect the starting 11. Like, get in the comments how you think the starting 11 will change. One thing I will say is he better not take out Kobbie Mainoo. He better not take out Kobbie Mainoo. That's the one thing I ask. But I'm so glad that we've got, having Martinez and Casemiro and Luke Shaw back is huge, especially Martinez and Casemiro after so long of being out. So I'm really excited to just at least have them in the squad. I doubt any of them will start after such a long injury, but to just have them back in there it's so exciting to me. And I know we've not got much left to play for this season, but we've got to do what we can. And that will massively improve our chances of winning games. He also said, on the players that are returning, they are returning a step ahead. When I talk about Martinez returning, Casemiro returning, they were a long time away. Mason Mount will return, but it will take a little longer. Tyrell Malacia will return as well. Victor Lindelof on his way, but it'll take some weeks. And it takes time to get up to match fitness. When we have the news, we will tell you. I'm not sure the word relief. First, it has to happen, but they are back. It is positive. They are back on the training ground and they go back to the team and then to 100% match fitness. So this to me reads, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Eriksen, Ahmad, they were just, Eriksen, Ahmad and was just ill and Antony, had a little bit of a knock. They're all, to me it reads as they've been training for a while, they're basically up to match fitness, that's why they're ready. Then when he talks about Malacia, Mount and Lindelof, they're all returning, they're all, getting back onto the training pitch, but they're not ready to be in the squad yet because they've not had enough time in the training ground, so they're not up to match fitness. But the good news is that all of these players are on their way back. And when you go down to not as many games because we're out of Europe, we're out of the Carabao Cup, the only other competition we're in is the FA Cup, it gives players more of a chance of rest, recovery, and it gives players a greater chance of staying fit and being back in the squad. So hopefully in maybe a week or 2 weeks when we have Mount, Malacia, Lindelof back and then we have hopefully all the other players stay fit, touch wood, we'll near enough have a full strength squad. Martial will probably still be injured at that point, but we'll near enough have a full strength squad, which is absolutely huge because I've said this, I still don't think we've seen Ten Hag's best 11 start once this season. Never mind start back-to-back games. God forbid you asked them to start, 3 league games in a row. I don't even think we've seen him play once. So to get all these players back fit, I think it'll be huge for Ten Hag. And the one thing it would be huge on, by the way, everyone, is someone said no more McTominay. That's a plus, isn't it? If Ten Hag still finds a way to get McTominay in the team with all these players back fit, Lord save him. But seriously, no, on a serious level, what it does allow us as fans to do is evaluate what Erik ten Hag can do with a full-strength team. He said he can't use injuries as an excuse, but he has used it a little bit as an excuse. And it's understandable, you do say there is no excuses when you're Man United because there isn't. Everyone deals with injuries. But Ten Hag literally has had a decimated backline. He's had a decimated squad. He's not been able to start his full-strength starting 11. The states of some of the starting 11s we've had to put out over the course of the season, it does impact you, it does affect you. So when I see Ten Hag, if he has his regular strongest 11 available on a regular basis, and you don't see improvement, that's when alarm bells go off, and that's when you think, will we have to assess the manager situation at the end of the season if he can't get his full-strength team to play the way he wants them to? However, if the players come back, he has a consistent full-strength team, which we hope is going to happen in the second half of the season, and we see improvements, we actually see a style of play start to develop, that's when you think, you know what, Ten Hag, give him this opportunity, give him a chance, let's see what he can do, because he has had injury problems, and now things are starting to tick. He's starting to play with the players that are actually more towards the level of what Man United need to be at. There's so many players in that squad that aren't United level, and people always say, well, what actually is United level? But there is a lot of players that, for me, aren't up to standard. Get the ones that are up to standard back, and let's judge Ten Hag then. Of course, we're going to judge him on this first half of the season. He's the manager. He's always going to be judged. But let's actually evaluate him when he has his full strength starting 11 available, fit and ready to play and on a consistent basis, in my opinion. A lot of people saying every team has injuries, and of course, like Spurs have had them, and they're doing so well. Newcastle have had them, that has actually affected them this year. Every team has had injuries. But remember last year, Liverpool were decimated with injuries. Decimated. And they had a poor season by Liverpool standards, and that's Jurgen Klopp, one of the best managers in the world. So they affect everybody, of course, but it can affect you negatively, like it does with a lot of teams. But everyone, just quickly, should I tell you my opinion on Ten Hag's full strength starting 11 with everyone fit, or should I do that at the end and we can kind of do it together? Let me know in the comments what you think. But then Ten Hag got asked about Jadon Sancho, and I thought it was quite a respectful comment from Ten Hag, is what you'd expect. He said, I hope he's doing well, so I wish him the best of luck. That's it. I hope he's doing well and that he will be a success. He then got asked about Sancho again, and he said, I replied to the previous question. I think that's enough. So he's expecting, he's giving Jadon Sancho the best of luck. He wants him to be a success. He hopes he's doing well. And to this, I would say, first of all, well done, Ten Hag. Be better, not bitter. Words you live by. Be better, not bitter. But also, of course, if you're Ten Hag and you're going to be here for the long term, he probably, he's not sure of that yet, but if he is going to be here for the long term, you want Sancho to go to Dortmund and do very well. Because if Sancho goes to Dortmund and smashes it, that means the price rises. That means more clubs are interested. That means more money into Manchester United for Ten Hag to spend in the summer. That's what it means for Ten Hag. If Ten Hag is still at Manchester United in the summer, I would be gobsmacked if Jadon Sancho returns and plays for United. If the manager changes, I expect Jadon Sancho to come in with a fresh start and play again. I know some of the fans won't be happy because of his behaviour, and some fans think he's been disrespectful. So for me, if Ten Hag stays, Sancho, no matter how well he does, he could absolutely, rip it. He could score a hat-trick every game. I still don't think he'd come back under Ten Hag. I think that bridge is burnt. If Ten Hag leaves, I think Sancho will come back. But the best thing that Man United fans and Ten Hag can hope for, no matter what, is Sancho goes and smashes it. First thing, because if Ten Hag's still here, you can sell him and you can reinvest it back into the squad. Second thing, if Ten Hag does leave and he's not here, one, you have an informed Jadon Sancho coming back if a new manager wants to use him. But from my opinion, even if Ten Hag does leave, I would still sell Jadon Sancho. I just don't think he has what it takes to play at Manchester United. Prove me wrong. We've seen him go and smash it at Dortmund before, and we bought him for 73 million and given 350 grand a week off the back of it. And he came to the Premier League and didn't progress the way we thought he would. Again, I've said this so many times, that's not just purely on the player, it's also due to Manchester United having a horrible recruitment process, not being able to embed young players, being a graveyard for players that are talented, not having a plan for them. It's both Sancho and the club's fault why he didn't succeed. I lay as much blame on the club as I do as Jadon Sancho as to why he didn't succeed. But for me, kissing the badge, I get he was there and it's the club that made him, but kissing the badge already when you go there after not playing for 3 months because you didn't want to apologise, saying it feels like home, it's just all that sort of stuff doesn't sit well with me. Players have died to wear the shirt of Manchester United. Give it a bit more respect, in my opinion. So I hope he does well for his sake and for the sake of Manchester United in terms of what they can get back out of that deal. And Ten Hag will be thinking the same thing. And then Ten Hag gets asked about Tottenham and the challenge of Tottenham, and he says it's definitely different. I think they complement the way they played. He changed the environment there. They are very proactive, very enjoyable to watch with a lot of dynamics. They are proactive. They combine it with good results, but also when we played them over there. And I think that's what we can take belief out of. In the first 35 minutes, we dominated them. We should have gone in the lead, but we didn't. So we have to make our own luck and take control of the game and finish the chances we have. And Ten Hag, he's not wrong in the sense of, when we went to Spurs at the start of the season, I know we got beat 2-0, but Bruno Fernandes missed an absolute sitter of a header. We should have had a penalty in terms of the Romero handball. We had multiple chances where we should have scored goals. We can score goals against this Spurs side. We can do it. Ten Hag knows that. He's absolutely right in the sense of Spurs are playing brilliant football that I wish we played. It's enjoyable to watch. And of course, there's been some mistakes like the Brighton game and a couple of games where they've lost. And because of the, you think it's ludicrous, Ange going into them games playing the way he's playing and continuing it. But he has his style of play. He takes it to every team no matter what, and he doesn't back down on it. I love that about Ange and its Spurs. I do. I wish we did that, because it's so enjoyable to watch. You know what you're going to get. You know what direction you're going in. You know what style of players you're going to be bringing in. You know the style. You know what Ange ball is. Like, everybody knows what Ange ball is now. And Ange as a manager is just so charismatic, and he's doing so well at Spurs, and I didn't think he would, so fair play to him. The one thing I would say about Spurs coming to Old Trafford, though, is we've got to give them a game. In the sense of, like I just said, they have a style and they're going to stick to it. Villa came to Old Trafford and played a very high line, and they got beat because our players, they're not great at a lot of things, but what they can do is they can get in behind a high line. That's our absolute go-to. That's our forte. That's what we're good at. Rashford, Garnacho, Højlund, Bruno. It's a combination to get in behind a high line. Spurs will come to Old Trafford and they will play a high line. It's whether Man United can take the chances, because we will get chances. We will. We've got to score goals. It's like when other teams have come to Old Trafford and played a high line before. When we beat Arsenal at Old Trafford last season 3-1, Arsenal played a high line. They continued it throughout the game. They got beat. We're very good at playing against high lines. So that's the little bit of a positive I can take into Sunday's game. I think it'll actually be a draw. I'm sensing a 2-2 draw. Spurs have got a lot of good players. I think it's great for us that Son is at the Asian Cup, because I think Son's their best player. I think he's absolutely unbelievable. So that's going to be a little bit of a loss for them. I just hope to God that Timo Werner doesn't score. You can just already see the script, can't you? After, we were linked to him and stuff like that. But yeah, Ten Hag's right. They are enjoyable to watch, but we can beat them. We can if we play our game. Ten Hag talking about taking it game by game. Sunday's the most important. I don't look further than that. I organise, prepare the best programme for the players. We have a group of players who can make the last step into match fitness. If they need a different programme to the players with a tough programme in 2023, it will be a different approach in the coming weeks going up to the FA Cup round. Just talking about taking it game by game and the injuries there. Ten Hag on the unsettled defence, he says, what you actually want is a team that is stable, so it doesn't matter that you have to swap one player from the other game, but not two. So many steps as we're forced to in the last year. Previously, over my total course here, we didn't have the option so often to play a fit squad that you can pick the team that depends on the approach you want to take the game. So, Ten Hag there literally talking about how he feels like he's not been able to properly imprint his style, basically, because of the amount of injuries and how he's not been able to pick from a fully fit squad. Everyone has injuries. You've got to deal with it in the modern game, unfortunately, and he needs to be able to find a solution past that. But as I said, I really do want to properly judge Ten Hag when we see him with a fully fit team. Then he goes on to Antony's performances, and see, it's strange because I see a lot of people in the chat saying that they think that we're going to get battered by Spurs. That's always a possibility because Spurs are a very good team. They're 6 points off the top. They're doing very well this season. But this is our home. This is Old Trafford. The fans will be behind the team. We'll have a great atmosphere there. We've got a very good reputation against Spurs at Old Trafford. Of course, Ange's come in and changed Spurs a little bit, but they're still Spurs in my opinion. But they're a very good team. A very good team. And they could easily batter us. They could easily beat us. That can happen. But I do think if they turn up to Old Trafford and play a high line, we've got a good chance. We've got a good chance. Anyway, maybe it's because I've not seen United play in the Prem for so long. My hope has started to rise again. But lastly, Ten Hag on Antony's performances. He says, I can explain. I think it's very simple. His off-the-field issues stop him playing. First year was okay. The pre-season was very okay. First 4 games was very good. I've seen the game against Spurs back and he played a very good game. But from the moment he was out and then he came back in, he didn't deliver the performance you should expect from him, and he can do so much better. I like this from Ten Hag because it's true. His first season was okay. It wasn't anything more. I can't recollect the first 4 games being very good, but that's what Ten Hag's opinion is. But what he is doing is he's holding the player accountable. He said that he's not delivered to the levels you can expect him to, and he can do so much better. He's holding the player accountable and he's admitting he's not been as good as what we want, because he hasn't, and it's the truth, and he's not sugarcoating it. Ten Hag said that about Sancho, we'd probably write a statement about it. You know, you've got to face the truth in football sometimes, and Antony hearing that, it'll hurt him. But he'll know it as much as anybody else. He'll know himself he's not been good enough. And he needs to work out how he can get back to the level as to why we bought him from Ajax. I've personally, since he's been at United, not seen a level good enough to play week in, week out for Manchester United on a consistent basis. He needs to get to that level. I have seen glimpses, I have seen potential. And you want to see him just honing in what he's good at and developing in that sense. And we'll have to just wait and see. We've got to hope he does because of the money we invested in him. And obviously, he is still young. He also speaks about Antony further, saying, you mentioned Ajax. I look back there, his effectiveness, end product was higher, and also Champions League was very high. He's capable of doing this. Key actions, key passes, key crosses, the finishing, it's very high, and it should return to that level. But the Premier League is more difficult, but he's capable of doing that. It has had an effect, an impact on him, definitely. So he has to deal with that. He caused them, he has to sort them out, but he has to do better. I don't know what it means in the sense of he caused them, he has to sort them out, but he has to do better. At the end, doesn't really, I might be reading it wrong, but Ten Hag there, in a sense of, you do kind of understand the point of, Ten Hag would never have pushed for Antony so hard if he didn't know there was a player there. He's watched him in training, he's watched them in games, he's coached him for years. Like, surely there is a player there that we've just not seen. At the moment, I don't see it at all. I don't. And I'm thinking we've wasted our money, and we've completely wasted our money, and I don't know if he's ever going to get up to that level that we want. But Ten Hag has said here, he said it's not good enough, he has to sort it out, he's admitted that. He's basically admitting a little bit of defeat on his signing, the fact he's not been good enough. It's his signing, it's Erik Ten Hag's signing. But he is again insisting he has got the level, we just need to see it and he needs to get back to it. Obviously, actions speak louder than words, and I have to see it to believe it at this point. He's had a lot of time, and of course, you know, going in and out of the team and having the personal issues off the field, you do give a little bit of benefit of the doubt in that sense. What he must have been going through would have been horrendous, and of course your mind's going to be elsewhere. But at the end of the day, all last season, some of the games he's come back in, Man United player, you're going to be judged on what you do on the pitch, and it's just not been good enough, so we've got to see it improve, we really do. Banjo said, Erik Ten Hag underestimated the physicality of the Premier League, in my opinion. Yeah, I do. I think there's been a lot of reports saying that Erik Ten Hag underestimated the Premier League, and managers make mistakes. Managers adapting make mistakes. Doesn't mean Ten Hag's a bad manager, doesn't mean he can't learn from him. I absolutely think that he did underestimate the quality of the Premier League. I agree with that. Hopefully he will stop doing that from now on. But when we're getting linked to constant Ajax players, now it's the Ajax striker, it's like banging your head against a brick wall. Please, Erik, please just go for someone from the Premier League or, you know, one of the top leagues in Europe. Please stop going for, you know, Ajax players constantly. You know, now getting linked to the Ajax striker. I get you know it. I get you know the league. I get you know the place. But please look at the track record and just, you know, go for a little bit more certainty. And under Sir Jim and the Ineos project, that's the reports is that's the direction they want to go down. To be fair, when you look at who he signed from Ajax, he didn't sign Donny van de Beek for United, so you've got to rule him out. He's signed 2 players from Ajax. He signed Lisandro Martinez and Antony. He's got a 1 out of 2 success rate. Martinez looks class. He looks brilliant. Antony looks like it was a poor signing. He's got a 50% success rate at the Ajax, in the Ajax camp of going for that. But, I mean, if you are going to go for an Ajax player, go for someone like Kudus, someone who's, who's a lot of quality. But, yeah, we need to be shopping outside of Ajax, to be honest with you. It scares me, it worries me when I see these reports of just constant Ajax players being linked to us. It really does. Amrabat was his player in the past as well, exactly. It's just, he needs to explore. It's like, has Pep brought anyone to City that he used to manage? Does Klopp? I mean, there's probably one or two, but it's not absolute, bucket loads. And it just feels like that's always what we're getting linked to with Erik ten Hag. You need to, and that's why we need a brilliant sporting director, which we don't have. But lastly, to kind of finish up the show, I will talk about, someone in the chat says Martinez ain't that good. Let's be honest. Come on. Come off it. Come off it. Martinez is great and I can't wait for him to come back. Luke R2 says, I feel like Sancho might regret this. He's made his bed, lying it. And, again, I hope he does well at Dortmund. I really hope he smashes it because it works out well for us no matter what. Liam Lighthouse says, I'm still stuck at modelling those Martial tops. Thank you for your super chat. And thank you everyone for the super chats and the chats that you've brought in. Lastly, to finish off the show, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my opinion of Ten Hag's full strength XI with the current squad that he's got and what that looks like in my opinion. So get in the comments whether you agree with me or disagree or not. And we'll get into it. So first up, goalkeeper would be Andre Onana. I know a lot of you guys in the chat would say Bayindir, but I've not even seen Bayindir. You have to go with Onana. Left back would be Luke Shaw. My two centre backs would be Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane. Right back. This is where it's always a debate, but me personally, I edge Dalot over Wan-Bissaka personally. So my back four would be Dalot, Varane, Martinez and Luke Shaw with Onana behind. My midfield three would be Casemiro, Kobe Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes. My front three would be Rashford on the left, Haaland up front and Garnacho on the right. Just if Rashford doesn't book his ideas up, then Ahmad has to start, knocking on the door of the right wing and Garnacho being on the left in that front three. But on paper, that's what I think Ten Hag's best 11 is. I do really like Ahmad. And, Rashford does have to put in better performances or else he could, steal his spot and Garnacho goes to the left. But for now, on paper, when everyone's fit, when everybody's on their best form, my starting 11 for Manchester United, the best one there is, Onana, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Luke Shaw, Casemiro, Kobe Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes, Garnacho on the right, Haaland up front and Rashford on the left. That is what it is. And let's see that team get a consistent run of games. I really hope he doesn't change Kobe Mainoo out for Casemiro. I hope he plays them together. But I can see Ten Hag doing it. I can see Ten Hag doing it. I hope he doesn't. Let me know in the comments your opinions. Someone said Garnacho, Haaland, Ahmad, Pellistri right wing, Garnacho left on, Haaland up front for me. Obviously, I know people, will have different opinions. I get that. And is Pellistri available? Yeah, Pellistri is available, but Ten Hag just doesn't fancy him. A lot of people saying Alvaro Fernandes news from Record Portugal. I'll have a little look at that now. Also, guys, do you think Sancho will play on the right wing or the left wing at Dortmund? I saw a lot of people saying they think he'll play on the left wing with Maatsen left back. That'd be interesting because obviously we bought him as a right winger, but we know he prefers the left wing. Let me just see if there is any updates on Alvaro Fernandes while we're still live. Just quickly. Let me just have a little look. Let's just have a look here. Okay, here we go. I've got it up. Just in, Alvaro Fernandes will become a new Benfica player for a fee of around 10 million euros. All that remains is to determine whether it is an immediate permanent transfer or a loan with an obligation. And that is coming in from Portuguese sources. I mean, there's no smoke without fire, and Alvaro Fernandez has been linked to Benfica for a while now. This signals to me, right, I'll tell you what my opinion is on it. People who were saying, like Faz was on the build-up show, Alvaro Fernandez should be back at United now and playing first-team football now. I don't agree. I don't think he's ready to play first-team for Man United now. I think he should be on loan. I think he should be learning his trade, learning his skill. But what I would say about Alvaro Fernandez is if we sell him for 10 million euros, I'll be absolutely gutted. I've watched him in pre-season. He looks like he's got so much potential. He's highly rated across Europe, in my opinion, by a lot of different people that watch Manchester United and have watched the youth academy come up. He's got skills. He's got attributes. I don't think he's ready now, but I think he should be on loan. And the fact that Benfica want to purchase him, to me, shows he's got talent and he's got ability, because Benfica are absolutely brilliant at scouting and bringing in players for a low fee at a young age and then selling them on for a massive fee later on. They're brilliant at it. They're so good at getting players in and developing them and then selling them for more money. So the fact that Benfica are interested in him and want him, to me, shows that I'm right in the sense of he is a great talent. I would love to loan him to Benfica. Even if we sell him, I'd love to have a buyback clause included, but please have a buyback clause included. And for 10 million euros, I think we can get more money. I really do think we undersell our players that are quality. It's like Tiedemann Mengi, he's playing at Luton, Fulham and Crystal Palace are interested in him, and we sold him to Luton for just under 1 million. He's playing in the Premier League. Like, it's so cheap. City sell players for like 12 to 18 million that haven't even played a Premier League minute. It's crazy. So for me, the fact that Hannibal and Alvaro Fernandez are going on loan, the way that we've done it with Hannibal, I think is the right move. You know, we're sending him on loan. There's an option to buy, but there's a buyback clause. So we have like an option to go back in if we ever want to, a decent option. If we're going to do that with Alvaro Fernandez, fair enough. The kid probably wants minutes. He probably wants to play first-team football. But it's either up the price or put in a buyback clause in there. That's what I'd hope to see. But let me know what you guys think about that. And Joe Tommy says, Alvaro Fernandez in the next 2 years will be the best left-back in the world. No cap. Kid won the best player in the championship a year ago. The fact he's a left wing-back / left-back and still won it. That's true. He did win that, and it was such a good achievement. He's done. I really do think he's a good player. Not sure about him being the best left back in the world, but I do think we're going to be letting go of a gem if we let him go. Mark's just tweeted out, Alvaro Fernandez being sold apparently, Palistri and Medjugorje to follow. Amazes me we sell these young players clubs actually want and are still stuck playing McTominay at 27. All the above are better. You know, Mark has it in for McTominay, doesn't he? But he's right in the sense of it's okay to sell and move these players on. Include a buyback clause, sell them cleverly, loan them cleverly. Don't just sell them for peanuts and then watch them progress into great players. That's what I hope. So far, touch wood, nobody that we've sold has really come back to bite us yet. Like Garner's very good at Everton. Would he be starting for Man United week in, week out? Probably not, but he's very good. We should have sold him for more. You know, everyone was banging on about Zidane Iqbal and he's barely even played for Utrecht. So obviously it was the right decision to move him on. You know, but there is some, you win some, you lose some, and there is one that will probably fall through the gap. Medjugorje is one that I think could progress. Glad we've got a buyback clause in there, but I do think it's the right move for him to go and play minutes. Alvaro Fernandez is one that especially if Benfica are interested, I really will be keeping my eye on, and I hope this move plays out cleverly and we include buyback options in there and we do it in a way that protects us. I don't trust us to do that, but that's what I hope. Anyway, guys, Joe Tommy also said Benfica will make him 60 to 80 million in the next 2 years. I mean, you won't be surprised. Elanga, that's one. Elanga, that's one that we undersold as well. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate we don't at least get the bang for our buck on these players. But anyway, guys, that's where we're at. We'll see how the story develops on Alvaro Fernandez, Hannibal and Palistri. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Obviously, I've not been on the shows the last couple of days. It was great to catch up with you guys. Make sure you're getting all your comments in. Let me know what you think Ten Hag's best 11 is with everybody fully fit. Make sure you hit a like on the video if you're excited for our game against Spurs and hoping we're going to get the 3 points. I am going to go, my final score prediction for that game, I'm going to go with 2-2 draw at Old Trafford. Thank you for watching. There'll be more shows later on. Stay tuned and I will see you on the next one.